Shut up and sit down.
We are back inside Wisconsin. Trevor Thomas, John Anderson, Jeff Levering with the Brewers and NCAA basketball, but mainly with the Brewers. It's hot stove-ish Brewers time of the year if we play lockout, blah, blah, blah. Hey, before we continue to hear about Grandpa Bob, I want to go back to Uncle Brian for a second. I reached out to Brian Anderson via text this morning and was trying to get him to surprise you and be like, hey, I'm back. I'm not doing a national game. I'll take it from here, Jeff. And he couldn't do it. He's got some... that would have been really fun. But
he was actually texting me right before we were going on, so that's perfect. That's great.
I didn't ask him for any of your accolades or what he thought of you. I just wanted him to come and surprise you. And here's what he said back. Jeff is a great talent and a great guy and family man, and we're lucky to have him here. He's turned down a thing or two to stay in this market and deserves the gig. I didn't want to be the reason he left, and I'm glad the Brewers allowed us to all work together. We're a tight-knit unit in the broadcasting department. It's rare. I'm thrilled we get to keep it going. I thought that was pretty damn cool.
It's that means a lot.
You didn't tell me you're making this into a freaking Hallmark movie.
Yeah, seriously. What are you, Roy Firestone, man?
My bad.
I have to start crying.
Great content.
When did Tom Rinaldi show up?
Yeah, right. No, that it does mean a lot, and I know Brian has been very complimentary of my work. He's helped me get to where I am, and he's really, again, like we're really good friends. We're great teammates. There have been some opportunities that have come up in the past, and he's been a great sounding board for me to talk to him about it. But we've created something really special with this Brewers group, and I think fans that listen to our broadcasts, whether it's on TV or on radio, understand that we're not just faking our friendship. Like we hang out, me and Lane hang out away from the ballpark. Our kids are good friends. Uke and I and Lane all had a dinner at the great Harvey Moy's Chinese restaurant in Menominee Falls before he went back to Arizona. Like Rock and I will text back and forth memes every now and again and wish each other Merry Christmas. And that's another great BA story too. We were at Rock's Christmas party a couple of years ago. My wife, it was 4 years ago, as a matter of fact, because my wife was super pregnant. I got pulled over from a cop, and my wife, she was about ready to burst. And this cop takes my license, and I'm going on a tangent here, but it's a good story. He takes my license, goes back to his trooper, his car, comes back, and he goes, "Hey, you're not from around here, huh?" And I went, "I've been here for like 4 years, but yeah, not originally." "So what do you do?" I said, "I work for the Brewers." He goes, "Oh my gosh, you're Brian Anderson." And I went, "You're looking at my license." I'm clearly not Brian Anderson, man. But I guess I'm just the other guy, and that's fine. I'm good with that. And he let me go, and it was wonderful. So yeah, we are a tight group, and we do have something special here. And I think the fans are very kind in what they say about all of us.
So to that end, that you know, because there's still always a limited amount of inventory, right? When you come to dividing all that up,
yeah.
How is it that doesn't become sort of where we cannibalize each other? Because quite frankly, like even now, I want shows, and even my day off is coming up. It just happens to fall on a Saturday, and they're the championship games, the semifinals. And I called my boss and said, I feel like I should be working on that day, you know, and I don't care who the other two people are right now. I just know that I'm not one of them, and I should be. And I get that it's my day off, but I need to be on that show.
Yeah.
Because that's sort of, I don't want to say natural, but that's a part of it. And that speaks to the uniqueness of what you have, but how do we get around some of that?
Yeah. And there's a lot of moving parts to that too. And I think in this industry, and it's really hard to do, you kind of got to check your ego. And I think we've done that. And for BA, as he mentioned, he's missed a lot of games over the last few years. He's missed a lot of iconic moments. He missed the no-hitter because he was doing something else. You know, he missed the Daniel Vogelbach walk-off grand slam. You know, I was on the call for that. So, and for me, now that I'm doing the TV stuff too, I'm the only guy that's done 162 games over the last 6 years. So no matter what, I know I'm going to be on the air. I don't know what innings I'm going to do. Sometimes I don't know what booth I'm walking into in a given day, but I know I'm going to be working. And for me, I think that's the most important thing. I don't want to miss big games. The first year that I was there, I only did 55 or 60 games, and I felt so weird because I did every inning of every damn game I did in the minor leagues, plus everything else. So I'm sitting there at home, and the team's on the road, and I had to live tweet from the Brewers account sitting on my couch. And I'm like, God, this is the weirdest thing. This is so weird. But for me, if I'm on the radio side, I want Bob to have those big calls. I don't know how long he's going to be around. I don't know how long he's going to do this. He deserves to have those big calls. He's been in the radio booth for over 50 years. He needs those calls, and I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure he has those calls. And on the TV side, listen, if I'm on that TV side and I'm working with Rock, awesome. I just want to make sure that the fans appreciate it. And just doing what we do, I think maybe I'm in the minority, but you got to check your ego a little bit. I know everybody wants to work. It's a great job. It's a damn good job. But the fact that we get to do what we do is really special. And even if you're not working and you're sitting in the booth and watching it, that's still pretty cool.
True.
Give me the transition radio side to TV. Like, my guess is your word content goes down 60%.
Yeah.
But still, that's tough to just flip that switch.
It is. And I'm thankful that I've had the basketball stuff and the football stuff in the off season to kind of train me a little bit more on the word count kind of thing. And I could tell in the first few games that I did on TV, like, dude, you don't need to talk that much. You're talking too much. You're talking too fast. Slow down. Let the game happen. And it's another kind of ego thing and knowing your role, to where when you're on the radio side, you're the guy. You are the star of the show because you are providing the play-by-play. You're providing the brush strokes for this painting. For a TV broadcaster, you're not necessarily the star. Yeah, you're going to have the big calls, the big moments. You'd better nail them and slow down so that you can nail them. But my job more than anything else is to make sure that my analyst is having the best day that he can, and he's describing things in the best way possible. So making sure he's in a good mood and things of that nature before we even get on the air. Those are big things. But you're right. The word count does significantly go down. It's slowing down. It's telling more stories. It's not, describing a ground ball to short with every bounce that it takes off the turf. So you could provide those pictures. It's to short, one away. Really easy, right? It can be that simple. It's almost, and it's great because I work with Uecker, but you're almost Monty, where Serrano makes this diving catch in the outfield and it's fly ball, caught. Sometimes it's all you need to do.
If you ever heard the Super 70 sports guy on Twitter, which if you haven't, you should.
He's the best.
Right. But like the other day, he showed Pat Summerall, and it was just like Montana, Rice, touchdown. What else you need? There you go. There's your play-by-play guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jeff went down a rabbit hole in Tecmo Super Bowl. I caught that on Twitter the other day, too. I got a question for the lightning round about that. All right.
Good.
We've brought him up a couple times. Let's get into it. You sit next to Bob Uecker almost every single day. I mean, John tells me all the time when we talk to guys like you, because I don't do this. I mean, yes, this is my full-time job now, but I don't talk to Bob Ueckers or John Andersons or Jeff Leverings every single day like you guys do. He always says, Trev, you can't get starstruck. I can tell you right now that if Bob Uecker came on Inside Wisconsin, I would crap myself.
How did you go that far? But you'd be I'd be starstruck too.
Yeah. How are you not, Jeff? Talk to us about what it's like to sit next to Bob Uecker every day.
Well, the first time I ever met him was the day before Christmas Eve in 2014. He was my last interview before I got the job initially. So, I mean, it's at Don and Charlie's, the famous steakhouse. It's no longer there anymore in Scottsdale with all the great stuff on the walls. And I showed up half an hour early because I didn't want to be late. And Uecker was already sitting there for half an hour because he got the time wrong. But who am I to say that he got the damn time wrong? So, I mean, he's sitting there with his wife, and he just has this amazing knack of disarming you within about 5 seconds. He just starts doing his thing and talking to you like you've been friends for 100 years. And I'll never forget this. When I was talking with him that night at Don and Charlie's, I'm nervous. I'm probably sweating through my blue shirt. And within 5 minutes of our conversation, Bud Selig walks around the corner at Don and Charlie's and Uecker stands up and says, "Hey, Al." And who calls Bud Selig Al except for Uecker, right? So he goes, "Hey, Al, I want to introduce you to Jeff. He's going to be working with us next year." And you talk about a crap your pants moment. Like, I don't even have the job yet. And he's telling the former commissioner of baseball that I'm going to be working with him next year. Okay. And then you're sitting there for 3 more hours processing that whole thing and not officially having the job yet. But that's just the tip of the iceberg with Bob. He's a special human being. And again, those moments that I had with him my first year where I'm just sitting in the booth and he's talking with me about God knows what, doing the ABC Superstars show with Boog Powell and playing pranks with Kenny Boyer, Mickey Mantle. And he brings up stories about Howard Cosell. And I mean, depending on where you want to go with this podcast, I mean, I could tell a lot of great stories.
The answer is yes. That's where we want to go. What you just thought of, that's where we want to go.
Oh man, there's some great stories where Howard had a couple too many to drink, and he was doing Superstars and sitting with Bart Starr in a bar, and Howard Cosell comes back down from his hotel room and he had forgot to put his hairpiece back on, and Mickey Mantle's at the bar, which leads to a whole nother story and segment that we could get into, but we won't. But the fact that he walked down without his hairpiece on, I think shocked the world. This is Cosell, of course. But he's the kind of guy that you never get old. He could tell the same story. I've heard some of these stories 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, but for whatever reason, they always sound different. And they always sound so cool. Like this picture over my shoulder with Uecker on the motorcycle. Like, who else can do these things? Who else can have the type of career that he's had to where he's a professional athlete, spends time in the Army before he becomes a professional baseball player. Then he's on the Johnny Carson show 100 times. Then he's in movies and doing animated films. He's in the Monsters Inc. TV show, or like Puppy Dog Pals. Like, who does that at 85 years old? Uecker does. He's so special. And you're right. Starstruck. First time I met him. Yes. And then when you sit there and you're his partner for the first time in a spring training game, and you have to I talked about the scorebook, I think, in the last commercial break, but like, it's Stonehenge. Look at this thing. This is just half of a season, right? Like, this is Uecker and me scoring a game. Look at that perfect handwriting. Look at the changes there. Like, that was my biggest worry, because one of the first things I had to learn with working with Uecker, not just how to broadcast with him, but I had to learn how to score like him too. Because when we share the scorebook, we'll pass it back and forth to each other in the middle of the game. So he has to be able to read my handwriting, number one. Mm-hmm. Number two, scoring a game is different for everybody. It's some similarities, but I had to learn how to score like he did. That was my biggest off-season project when I got the number 2 job full-time, was learning how to score like him so that I could keep Stonehenge and figure out what type of pen that he likes so that he could see it with his eyes. It's unbelievable. I don't even know what to say.
See, so now you're into what the granular stuff that I dig. Like, have you ever seen a Dave Sims scorecard for Seattle when King Felix threw his no-hitter? He tweeted out, and it's just minimal and perfect, and it was amazing to look at Dave Sims. I did games, oddly enough, once in a while before he became the manager of the New York Yankees with Aaron Boone. Mm-hmm. And it's just we did just the celebrity softball game, not even the futures game, celebrity softball game. And he's got in there. And yet, because they've seen so many games and they know the game's going to be, I don't know that he ever looked down at it again and could still tell you what some, third-rate drummer for Rat or somebody had just done 2 innings or his second at bat, an hour earlier. Right. And it's crazy. But the craft that's in that and like I look at what you see there and I just think, oh my goodness, the story you could tell just recounting that game from whatever it is. Here's July 12th.
Right. Right. And you see a 4-3 in the book or a 7 and you go, I know exactly what happened. Because
I can see it all again right there when it goes through. But it's so that's always fascinating. I did a speech once in like 6th grade on how to score a baseball game, because that's what a dumb nerd I am sports wise from way back when. So that's crazy.
It's pretty cool. We got some books with coffee stains where you could like spill a coffee, and it's game 2 of this beautiful, fresh new book. And then you've got coffee stains for the rest of the season. It's wonderful.
So, does it ever, I mean, real quick, I have some cool crap. John, you have some really cool stuff in your, he's sitting with Bob Uecker's score. Like, no big deal. Like,
well, it's theirs. You're being generous. It is the brewer. It is your scorebook as well.
Understood.
I'm the keeper of the book. Like, it always goes with me, no matter where I go.
Incredible.
I know.
That's not the Bob Carpenter book, right? Because Bob Carpenter, you know, Bob Carpenter, the longtime play-by-play guy now of the Nationals. I think he's going in like year 20, but it was with the Cardinals with ESPN. But he developed his own scorebook that is actually a fairly large seller. I don't know if it's universally used. Clearly, it's not when it comes through there. The role of Uecker's partner has changed.
Yeah.
When I was a kid and I listened to Bob Uecker and Merle Harmon, that was a 50-50 deal. Hell, Merle Harmon might have been more famous. He had sports shops in every mall, the Merle Harmon Fanfare. And while they traded innings as to who was play-by-play and who was color, that was a partnership. It has grown. You know, when he was with the guy that was with the Cubs as well, Hughes.
Yeah, Pat Hughes.
Pat Hughes. You know, that was sort of, you know, even Pat there. Bob's become such a large, omnipresent thing now. I guess I'm curious as to how you find yourself relating to that. And as you said, you still have to find your own voice, right? Because I'm still, here I am, and I'm the only guy that's doing 106. I'm doing more innings than anybody.
Yeah.
If not that everybody's keeping track of that. How do you balance those two things?
So it's pretty easy with Bob because, like I said, in the first couple innings when we're doing the pregame show and I'm doing my last little segment, the injury report, and then all right with the first pitch, here's Bob Uecker. It's more just getting out and laying out and letting him set up the game. That's my job. And if you don't hear me until the second inning, it's not because I'm in the back and doing nothing. I'm there if Bob needs it or if he wants to get into a story or something. I'm there. But I don't need to talk necessarily. I don't need to jump in and analyze what Scooter Gennett did on that swing. I don't need to do that. I don't need to be a true analyst. And then in the third inning, when he tosses it to me, which is still very surreal every time he tosses it to me for the third inning, and he goes, okay, for the play-by-play, here's Jeff. And I'm like, geez, how is this life? How's this real life? Right? Why is Bob tossed it to me? But then it's kind of weird, and you kind of have to feel how he's doing on that particular day. If he needs a break, if the first two innings have been an hour and a half, which they tend to be at times, he's going to bolt. He's going to go grab a Usinger sausage or whatever, and I'll just do the play-by-play, and I'll be by myself, and it's not the end of the world. But sometimes he tosses it to me, he keeps the headset on, and he watches, and then it's kind of like, all right, well, let's get into some stuff. Let's talk about some things, and then he'll be a color commentator for an inning and a half, or if we're in a good conversation, he'll stay for 2 innings. It just depends on the game, and it comes with working with him a little bit, and when I work with my other partner Lane on the radio, it's different. He is an analyst. He'll help out every now and again. And then when he's doing the play-by-play, I'm more of an analyst and I'm more engaged in conversations and helping out. But when it's Bob, it's Bob time. He's the star. And again, like we talked about earlier, you just try and see how much of that onion he wants to peel that particular day and how the game dictates it. But it's great. And with the fact that you never know who's going to come in the booth. When he had his 50th anniversary this year, he ended up not working that day. It was a busy day, and he had all this fanfare, and rightfully so. So I did the play-by-play at home, and Lane was working with me. And there was a time in, I think, the 5th or 6th inning where in the booth was Robin Yount, Paul Molitor, and Uke, and they're just sitting there, and they're talking shop like they're best friends, like they are. Well, Robin and Bob certainly are. They live right down the street from each other in Arizona. But they're talking, and I'm in the middle of doing play-by-play, and Lane probably jumped up to grab a pint of Cedar Crest ice cream or something. And all of a sudden, they're taking a group photo with Kent, our engineer for 1,000 years. And Robin yells, he goes, wait, we got to get Jeff in this picture. And I'm doing the play-by-play. We're in the middle of the inning. So he starts yelling at me, and then he finally grabs my shirt and goes, "Come take a picture." So in the middle of the inning, I took my headset off, and I was like, you know what? Robin Yount is telling me I got to go take a picture. So I took my headset off, went and took the picture, came back down and missed one pitch. And then you've got content for a week just with that story. So you just learn to adapt. And those are the types of things that you don't get anywhere else.
So, Trev, I don't know if you take notes as people are talking. I always am. So I'm just trying to think, besides Cedar Crest and Usinger, is there any other sponsor you need to get in before we get on? Okay, we're good with those two?
Yes.
No, nothing else? Okay.
Well, it's like you're listening to a broadcast, right? Because we talk about those things for innings on end.
We've gotten Miller Lite. We've gotten American Family. I just want to make sure we're not losing anybody out. Do you need to, like a NASCAR driver, do you need to change your hat at any point and put something new on?
This is usually where we drop festival food.
Straight Nice, great Wisconsin hardware store here in Menominee Falls.
I think we're good. Make sure you're good.
I think we're okay, yeah.
Outstanding.
When was the last time you sat there and just kind of shook your head and just went, what a crazy, whether it's a story he was telling, not just the personnel, but just where you sat there and he started in on whether it was, here I am, Bob Gibson and I were taking the picture where I'm holding his hand. Like, when was the last time he dropped one of those just as casually as could be? And yet you were like, that's what a good day I'm having at work.
It almost happens daily. The one for me is that kind of always stands out was in 2019, and we were in Cincinnati, and he was on the trip because it was the end of the season, and the Brewers were getting close to clinching. So the last road trip of the year was Cincinnati and Colorado. And I grew up in Northern California. I grew up a Giants fan from day number one. Behind me is Willie Mays making the catch, and
even though that was in New York, but that's cool.
That's all right. Yeah, Bobby Thompson's up here too, and the shot heard around the world. But I was a big Giants fan, like Robbie Thompson and Kirk Manwaring and Matt Williams and Will Clark. They're my dudes. Like, here you go, it's Will Clark, starting lineup guy. So the Brewers clinch. They clinch a spot in the playoffs in 2019. We're in Cincinnati, and we're about ready to go down and do the celebration. And we finish up our part of the postgame show, and Uke gets a call from Joe Torre on his cell phone. And him and Joe go back, and Frank and Uke were roommates back in their Braves days. So they're tight. So Joe gets on the phone with Uke. He goes, "Hey, Uke, I have someone here that wants to talk to you." And he goes, "Okay, who you got?" And he's on the speakerphone, and I'm sitting right next to him. And this voice comes on the phone, and he goes, "Hey, Uke. How you doing, my man?" And you kind of sits there. He goes, "I know this voice," and it clicks. And he says, "Willie." He's talking to Willie Mays. He's talking to Willie Mays on a speakerphone, and I crapped my pants for a second. I went, "Oh my God, he is talking to Willie Mays right now. This is amazing." And then he starts telling him that Willie says, "Hey, Uke, what are you doing these days?" He goes, "Well, I'm still working. I get an at-bat every week. They still let me play." And Willie's kind of hook, line, and sinker buying it. "No, man, they're not letting you play anymore." "No, it's one at-bat, but, I'm still part of the team, and they're letting me do it." And him having this 5-minute conversation with Willie Mays was just spellbinding for me. Just amazing that I get to sit here and witness these two legends have a conversation in their 80s, and it was like no time had passed since the last time they saw each other. That was an amazing one for me.
It's a good time to transition to segment 3. We will wrap it up with Jeff Levering, lightning round next. These stories have been incredible, Jeff. We're back in a second. This is Inside Wisconsin.
Inside Wisconsin is brought to you by Baycare Clinic, Cobblestone Creek, the University of Wisconsin-Platteville, Mill Home Supper Club, Festival Foods, Capital Credit Union, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, American Family Insurance, Roll Tech, and by Miller Lite.